when I was looking at the causes of the war, many Ori Igbo indigenes also left the north. They witnessed the pogrom.
That's it.
Tell us more.
The pogrom, sometimes I feel bad when I looked at Nigeria because you realize that the problems we had that led to the civil war are even getting stronger, are becoming worse. When you look at the 1962 census crisis to 1963, you look at the 1964 federal government election, you look at the Western region crisis, 1965, then you look at the coup, January and also that of July 29. All of these issues are still, they are even the issue of ethnicity, tribalism, injustice, nepotism, they are even worse now. So these are the issues that led to the Nigerian Civil War. Kaduna Chukuma Nzogo from Anioma, Ifeanyi and the rest of them, they were those who masterminded the coup. Yeah. And they did it with a good motive, but the execution was poorly done.
When you say execution was poorly done, how?
Because, for example, I don't know for what reason they allow Zik to escape that.
But Zik was not in the country.
Whatever, that cannot be accepted. Mike Okpara was also, let out of the coup and, so.
Awolowo was also left out. They could have also gone to the prison to get him.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is that northern part of Nigeria suffered most.
But was it an Igbo coup? There was Adewale Ademoyega.
Well, I think recently, even IBB say it wasn't an Igbo coup.
If you even look
as a matter of fact, even it was Ojukwu in Kano that quashed the coup, and also Ironsi too in Lagos too. It didn't allow them to execute or to take over the power.
Because I realized
but back to what you asked me about the pogrom. It wasn't even only Igbo people that were killed. All the people from the defunct eastern region, the Calabar, the Ijaws, the Bini, anybody that looks Igbo or that looks that is not looking like Hausa or Yoruba, were all killed. So it was a very gruesome, very regrettable. That was the darkest history of Africa that led to the civil war, where people were killed, macheted, disboweled in most cruel ways all over Nigeria.
Now, with the pogrom in the north, Igbos began to run back to the east, including Igbos from Ori Igbo. They kept moving back. So what did that migration do to Igbo land?
When you look at the pogrom, I think that is the genesis of Nigeria's problem, because Igbo people, based on their nature, they travel a lot. The travel is not just after the Nigerian Civil War. They've been in that habit of traveling, just like the Chinese or the Israelis, they travel a lot. So, when you read the account of Dilichukwu that wrote a memoir, The Last Train to Biafra, it was very horrifying. How many people trekked from the north through River Niger, and some of them were killed on the road, thrown into the River Niger, and all of those stuff. So it was really painful because, the program continued 2 times. Even Juku told them to go back. So at the time they fled back, finally, it became apparent that the program would not stop. So the program really caused a lot of havoc and spark up a lot of tension and emotions. Some persons came with their hand chopped off, came and narrated stories, some exaggerated story and all of those things. So these things really provoked them. And they were like, we can't remain in a place that we are being murdered. So that became a problem to Ojukwu too. The problem of IDPs, feeding them and all of those stuff. And then the last stroke that broke the camel's back was the not keeping to agreement made in Aburi. And then the sudden declaration of war and also declaration of 12 states. Is 13 states or 12 states?
12 states.
12 states, and then Ojukwu also, responded by declaring a sovereign state of Biafra.
You reviewed this book in your literature review.
Yeah.
The Last Flight. A pilot remembers the Air Force and the Biafran air attacks. Captain August Okpe is the author. You know, in this work, he was based in Kaduna during the pogrom.
Okay.
He told the story of how he escaped. And he was a member of the Nigerian Air Force. They were hidden in the water tank of a train on the way to the east. These were military officers escaping. You could imagine what the civilians went through.
That is it. War is never an option for any people. War does not do good. Part of the problems we are faced today is as a result of the civil war. Nigeria is yet to recover from that problem. And the unfortunate part of it is that even our leaders are not learning from history. Yes, we fought war. We can't do anything about it. The solution is to move ahead and begin to correct the problems that led to the civil war. Like I always say, Rwanda learned from their problem of civil war. And what they did is that they discouraged anything, ethnicity and all of that. You don't talk about you are Tutsi or Hutu or whatever. But in Nigeria, these things are still there. And then they regretted that there was this national repentance. You know, the leaders regretted and also confessed not to allow such kind of thing to happen again in their land. And they are, up to today, you have anniversaries, you have a monument, raised in commemoration of that war that was fought. But in Nigeria, you don't have anything like that. Rather, the Nigeria leaders or government doesn't want anything that has to do with civil war. We are not taught civil war in secondary school and all of that. So you allow the charlatan to teach people about the civil war and they teach it wrongly.
Why did you decide to have your research on the war?
Yeah, because I saw a gap. And because, most times people talk about the killing and all of those stuffs, But here we are looking at how people were saved. Up to 10,000 of people as IDP in Ori Igbo were preserved. And also we are saying also that, yes, Igbo land was attacked, was bombarded and all of that. But we are saying that in Ori Igbo, it was fair. Because of the topography and because of the people. People came from all over Biafra. From today, South, and hinterland in Igbo land. They came into that place. Even including Chino Achebe at the point he was there. That's the point we're saying. And so we're also talking about the ingenuity of the people. During the Civil War around Uguta Lake and Ohamili and all of that, the River Niger, we had the naval post there. They also improvised. They made, they had an explosive, a device that monitor movement of ships and all of that in that place. And naval base, Biafra after Padako fell, naval base shifted to Uguta, to Ori Igbo.
Ori Igbo wasn't the center of the war. But Ori Igbo's sons went to war. I wonder why.
Yes, they went to war. They went to war because, since they were not, their land was not under attack, was not overtaken, was not overrun. So they had that, luxury of sending, have what we call a conscription, sending their sons to fight in other places in Biafra.
But you also made mention of Europeans who saw the signs of war, hinting the Calabarese
that is it.
To find their way out of Ori Igbo.
Exactly.
Before the war.
Exactly.
And to the dismay of the people of Ori Igbo, they woke up one morning and found that the Calabarese had disappeared.
Exactly.
And perhaps you suggested that singular event made them to realize their nationalism. And they felt they were really Igbo and needed to be on the side of Biafra. Is that the point you made?
You mean the old Igbo, right?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. The Igbo people, they are Igbo. That's no point. Yes, they have their unique culture.
I'm asking, what was the impact of that sudden disappearance of Calabarese?
Well, when they disappear, they realize that they're on their own. And they have to really fix the reality. You can't, somebody in Igbo, you say that, a person that is being denied or rejected will not reject himself, will not deny himself.
Did the Calabaris needed to leave Ori Igbo at that time?
Well, we don't know what the Europeans told them, but we all also know that the equation, the international politics then, suggested that, of course, there's no way the Biafran would have won that war, because they had the support of Great Britain, they had the support of Russia, even the US,
then the Soviet Union,
the Egyptians, the Arabs. When the war was fought was when the Israel as a nation was also battling with the Arabs. So the Arabs also got angry. This is a Christian nation. We will not allow them to also have their foothold in Africa and all of that. So they unleashed their anger. They sent their missionary, the Egyptians and all of that. So
Israel backed Biafra too.
Well, I would like to say morally, but not militarily. Yes. When you read the work of Chinua Achebe say that there are some countries he went those days as a diplomat representing Biafra, that they told him that, after they narrated all the sought for their support, that they responded to them. They were like, you are free to land in our country. He said he didn't understand that statement. It was after the whole thing that he realized that even the Europeans knew that there's nowhere on earth the Biafran will win the war because of the support of the superpowers.
But did Biafra know that it was going to lose the war?
I think, of course, they should.
You sure?
They knew, but they were playing, the game they were playing is that let's keep sustaining the war. Maybe there will be that room for negotiation and all of that, which at a point, they went to different, conferences and different negotiations, Addis Ababa and the rest of them. At a point, the Nigeria were like, they have to surrender unconditionally. And I think that is also very, very unfair, the way they went about the war, using all kinds of dangerous weapons, all the people, the starvation and all of those stuff, I think it wasn't Benjamin that said it, Adekunle, I don't want to see any Biafra. Anything you see, you shoot. Anything that moves a tree and all of those stuff, Look at what happened in the Anioma, the Asaba massacre, all of those stuff. I think the way the war was prosecuted wasn't really good enough.
And I'm wondering how Ori Igbo was able to accommodate more than 10,000 internally displaced Biafrans.
Like I've said, that area is really blessed with land, arable land, water body, and all of that. Even fishes. At a point, when you read my thesis, we don't know what really happened, but around 1967 to 1968, there were a lot of movement of fishes from the Bonny Island into that area, such that their ponds and their rivers and all this everywhere, were filled with fishes. And people were eating fishes. They got fed up of eating fishes.
So how come these fishes were not getting to the Biafrans at the war front? Because Biafrans were suffering. There was lack of food in Biafra.
That's true.
So how come these fishes were not moving into the hinterland?
Well, movement too was also very dangerous then. You have a lot of, fighting jet and all of that. So movement was very difficult. So, but those who were there, even at some point in Ori Igbo, they started using leaves to cover their zinc houses and all of that. Remember, even those European quarters were bombarded by these merciless Russian missionaries and Egyptian missionaries. So taking those things too far away, sometimes they move at night, maybe to Uli, to get those relief materials. Movement was mostly at night, not in the daytime.
And I must commend the people of Ori Igbo, the way they accepted the IDPs into their homes.
Exactly. And I think that is the import of this work, a system of accommodating people and integrating them into the existing family structure and society. And that helped them to avoid stigmatization and all of that. So when they came in, they became part of their family and they started relating and learning their culture and all of those stuff.
And they also contributed to the economy.
Exactly. Some of them even got married to the Ori Igbo people. And that also smoothened and strengthened their relationships such that after the war, they kept relating with them.
So Ori Igbo is special.
Yeah, it's special. Unlike maybe what we had, look at the issue of the Ife and Modekake. You know, they don't read the history. I think Modekake was accepted. So, you know, they had a one, all of those stuff. But afterwards, they were at loggerhead and all of those stuff. But because they were kept in a particular settlement camp and all of those stuff. But in the case of Ori Igbo, these people, and why it was easier is because these people were relating with them even before the white man came. So they had similar culture. That's the point. You from River State, from Delta State, these people will mention, some of them say they are not Igbo. They related, they have similar culture. For example, when you go to Oguta Meshi, you know, they've always had this kinship system, just like the Benin. So they are not like what we call Acephalos and all of those. So no, they have central government.
So in these zones,
just like
that notion, that does not apply.
It does not apply. Just like the Onisha people, even the Anewa people, they have the Obi and all of those stuff. They have the Umuide, their royal family. You go to Oba people in Delta, all these we are mentioning, the Opoma and the Omoko River States, the Ebuman, the rest, they have, you know, the royal family, Umuide and all of those. So they have similar culture. So it was easy to relate at that point in time. You know.
I was reading a point, a civil servant who trekked from Enugu to Ori Igbo. And you quoted him in your work.
Yes, I met there. Some of them are no more alive. You know, we did this work. Of fact, I've been researching in this area for like 20-something years. Yes, you know, because my parents, as I thank God for my late dad and my mom is still alive, they really groomed us. They told us a lot of stories and we are going home and all of those stuff.
You are from Ori Igbo?
I'm from Ori Igbo.
Good.
We were introduced to a lot of people who also... So when I started this work, it was easier. I met a lot of persons who were participants or who witnessed the war, victims of the war. Some of them then, they were 90 years, 80 years, 100 years, and all of that. So they told you this, sometimes they even were broken telling you these stories. You know, for that you will be filled with emotion.
You interviewed more than 50 persons.
More than. Interviewed up to like 100 persons. You know, some of them, they tell you story. They told you stories that made you to feel so much bad. You were like, this world is full of wickedness and humanity is not fair to humanity. Some of them trekked for months without food. Some of them stayed for like weeks without eating food. Some of them have to eat leaves, unknown leaves. Some of them have to drink all kinds of water. Some of them have to they urinated and also drink the urine back. So it's really terrifying. That's why we discourage war and we don't call for it. But every time when you read social media, you see all kinds of hate speeches and all kinds of disunity and the likes. And it means that people are not learning from history, especially our leaders. Because how to learn from history is to begin to do the right things. Things that bring this disunity. Things that bring agitations. Things that make people to feel unsecured. The issue of injustice. You know, the issue of suppressing people. In Nigeria today, you know, different ethnic groups are really in pain. Maybe apart from Hausa and Yoruba, other ethnic groups. It's not really about the Igbo thing. We have a lot of ethnic groups in the north. The Southern Kadunas, the Biron, different ethnic groups are not really feeling the impact of being part of Nigeria. And I feel the way out is to really have a national rethink and to begin to do the right thing, such that anywhere you are, you will feel proud of being in Nigeria. Let there be amenities. Let things flow all over Nigeria. Whether you are in Sokoto, whether you are in Ife, whether you are in Sara Kaduna, whether you are in Omok, wherever you are, you know, when you feel that sense of belonging and you know that everything is working out for you, you have job, you have a good pipe, bomb water, you have electricity, you have all that you need, then you won't feel anything. And then you also have that privilege. You have that ability to aspire to any position in Nigeria. But the way it is today, Nigeria politics is centered around Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba. And even the Igbo, they are not in the equation anymore. And it shouldn't be so. These are the issues. The power, the center is too powerful. Our politicians are the wealthiest in Nigeria. Politics in Nigeria is too expensive. So people do all kinds of things. Even the issue of insecurity we have today. Everything boils down on politics, boils down on, fighting for resources, national cake. But when we decentralize, when we ensure that every region is developed, or we ensure that the center is weak and every region is taking care of our resources, all of this tension will reduce.